Ecuador is one of the most popular places to retire, especially for Americans and Canadians.
And a lot of people ask us, can I live in Ecuador on my Social Security?
So in this video, we're going to talk about some of the common expenses and paint a picture of what your life will look like in Ecuador on your Social Security income.
Before we get started, if you're thinking about moving to Ecuador, we want to remind you about our Expat Fast Track eCourse.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, we spent months creating this program. It's got over 60 videos, each with written content, links to more information, and it will tell you exactly how to move to Ecuador step by step. We even have a detailed checklist that you can download, and once you check the last item off the list, you will be living in Ecuador.
Yay! So if you're interested, we will put a link to that in the description below.
According to AARP, the average Social Security payment is $1,565 per month in 2021.
Yes, and it is going to go up to $1,657 in 2022.
And most couples earn about $3,000 a month. We know that some of you will earn more than that and some of you will earn less than that, but those are the numbers we're going to use as the baseline for this analysis.
So the big question is that enough money to live comfortably in Ecuador?
All right, so let's crunch the numbers and find out.
The first thing you need to do is make sure you qualify for a visa. And the great thing about Ecuador is that you only need $400 a month from your Social Security or another form of income to qualify for a 2-year visa.
Yeah, that is great, especially compared to a lot of the other countries that are popular with expats like Mexico, which requires almost $2,000 per month to qualify for a temporary residency visa. That's more than the average Social Security check. There is a way in Mexico to be a perpetual tourist where you can leave every 6 months and come back, but there is a chance they won't let you back in for a year if you leave. So the nice thing about Ecuador is you actually get a temporary visa with just $400 per month and you're legal resident. If you would like us to introduce you to our trusted visa agent, we're happy to do that. We'll put a link below so you can fill out that form and we'll send an introduction email. All right, next up, we're going to talk about housing. As a general rule, the experts, the financial experts say that you should spend about 30% of your income on housing. So that figures out to be about $500 per month. So we want to look at what kinds of housing you can get for that for $500 a month in rent.
There's lots of affordable housing options, and the cheapest option is to rent a room in a house or hostel, and that can be as little as $100 a month.
Yeah, but you won't have as much privacy as your own place. Luckily, there are lots of condos and even single-family homes that rent for less than $500 per month throughout Ecuador. We featured a few of them, a couple of them here in Manta that rented for less than $500 per month. They're super nice and in a good neighborhood. A few places in Olón that we featured in previous videos as well, a little casita in Las Núñez and some condos. There's also an income property that we featured in Crucita that the units rented for about $500 to $600 per month. And in Cotacachi, we've heard from people who rent for as little as $300 a month, an entire house, a single family home for that much.
There's also a lot of affordable options in Cuenca. There was a nice condo that JP and I checked out that was in our neighborhood of El Berjel, and that was renting for about $500 a month, but that was a couple years ago. The nice thing too is that you can find a lot of options that are fully furnished, so they are move-in ready.
As a general rule, it is quite a bit more expensive on the coast, so if you are on a tight budget or want to save as much money as possible, you might want to consider one of those mountain towns like Cotacachi, Cuenca, or Loja, or even Vilcabamba. Those are a lot more affordable.
If you're a couple, or if you have a roommate, or if you just have more money to spend, there are a lot of nice options for less than $1,000 a month.
And keep in mind that if you want to live on the coast, if you just go in one block off of the beach, you're looking at substantial savings on your monthly rent. Anything that's right on the beach or with beach access is going to be a lot more expensive.
A lot of you may own your home in the U.S. and there is a housing bubble, I guess. So this might be a really good time for you to capitalize on that and make a lot of money by selling your house.
Yeah, and if you do that, cash out now at the height of it, you can bring that money here and buy an income property. We featured several of those in our videos. So you could come here and live in part of it and rent out the other part and earn some income in your retirement.
If you'd like us to introduce you to a rental or real estate agent, just check below for the link.
Now let's talk about your next biggest expense, and that is probably going to be health insurance. The public IESS plan, that's Ecuador's universal healthcare plan, is going to cost about $80 per month, but you do have to have your temporary residency and your cédula before you can apply for that.
You can also get private health insurance, and that's what JP and I have, and we spend about $174 a month for both of us, but we are in our early 50s, and the price does go up quite a bit as you get older, unfortunately.
Yeah, you can expect to spend closer to $300 per person when you are in your 70s or older.
Yeah, so the public plan may be a much better option for you.
However, the good news is that healthcare in Ecuador is a lot more affordable. You can expect to pay 1/3 to 1/10 what you would pay in the U.S. for similar service.
Yeah, and prescription drugs are typically less expensive here too, so that's a nice thing.
Yeah, but you might pay more for over-the-counter like ibuprofen or some regular drugs like that we get real cheap in the U.S. are a little bit more expensive here.
Yeah, but maybe you won't need as many of your prescription drugs when you move here. Unconventionals, we've heard from so many people that they have moved here and started getting out walking and eating more fruits and veggies, and they have been able to reduce a lot of their medications, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and people lose weight when they come here. It's fascinating to see when we see new arrivals come, and then we just watch the weight fall off of them. And we've asked several how they're losing weight, and they're like, I don't know, it just seems to be falling off. And man, that is really nice to hear. I know we lost weight when we moved here, just a lot. We do a lot more walking, and the quality of the food is just so much higher.
Yeah, maybe it's also because people aren't as stressed out. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be, especially if you leave all of your baggage back in the U.S. They had emotional and baggage, and just embrace the tranquilo.
Speaking of fruits and veggies, we love shopping at the Mercado, and it's also a great way to save money on your food bill each month.
Yeah, and food is probably your next biggest expense. I know it is for us. And the grocery stores are quite a bit more expensive, especially for packaged items. We've had people come here and they're shocked to see similar prices at the grocery store as what you pay in the U.S. That's why we always recommend going to the Mercado for your produce. It's also just so good there, and what a fun experience as well.
We also like to eat out, and we found that we spend a lot less eating out than we did in the U.S., and that's just because prices are cheaper, not because we just eat out a lot less.
Yeah, when we used to go out in Denver, sometimes we spend $50 or $100 on dinner. Here it's usually about $20 for both of us to eat, and it's a good amount of food.
Yep, and you can also take advantage of the almuerzos, which are the lunch specials that you'll see around Ecuador. And they range anywhere from like $1.50 to $3 or $4, and it's a lot of food. It's traditional Ecuadorian food.
You will find that meat is more expensive here because it's not heavily subsidized by the government like it is in the U.S. So you might want to budget a little bit more for that, but you may eat less once you fill up on those fruits and vegetables.
We spend about $600 a month on food, but we do a lot of our shopping at the grocery store, so we are spending more money than we would if we went to the Mercado.
Yeah, so we think that about $300 per month per person is a safe amount to budget, although yours may be more or less depending on your dietary preferences.
Now let's talk about the telecom expenses, so your cell phone and internet. We pay $20 a month for Claro, and we are very happy with it.
That's our mobile phone plan.
Yes.
And it has good 4G coverage. We've used for Zoom meetings before, so it works great. Our internet bill runs about $45 per month, but we upgraded to a higher plan that comes with 75 megabytes upload and download speed because we're obviously heavy users since we both work out of the house.
Yeah, but you can get plans from like $22 a month, and some places will include the internet in your rent, so it really varies.
Yeah, but in general, we recommend budgeting about $65 per month for your telecom expenses.
The next monthly expense are the utilities, and we're going to start off with electric, which really varies widely depending on whether you live in the highlands or on the coast. If you're living on the coast, you may be spending a lot more because you want air conditioning.
Yeah, the electric bills are higher here on the coast. We spend about $100 a month, and we run the air at night and when we're filming so that we can keep the windows closed. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to hear us over the surf.
Yeah, but yeah, but you won't need air conditioning in Cuenca.
No, but you will spend more in gas, propane in Cuenca, because you'll probably have a space heater, and you might run an electric heater in your bedroom because it does get really chilly at night. Plus, it costs more to heat the water up there because it is chilly and there's no insulation in the homes, generally speaking. So you do spend more in gas than we do here on the coast.
Yeah, but it's still very affordable. The gas tanks cost, I think, $2.50 or $3 a tank. And if you use it for cooking, one of those tanks can last you like 4 months.
Yeah. Also, water. When we lived in Cuenca, we drank the tap water, although some people still choose to buy bottled water. Here in Manta, we have a reverse osmosis filter, but we are responsible for replacing the filters once a year. So we recommend budgeting maybe $2 to $5 per month for your water bill. Maybe more if you're living in, like when we lived in a loan, we spent about $20 a month on jugged water, and we had that brought in by our landscaper. He brought it for us whenever we needed it.
Yeah, and again, this is going to vary so much because some places will include some of this in your rent. So if you're renting a room, for example, you're not going to have a separate, you're not going to be responsible for the electric bill.
We think $75 per month is probably a good estimate for your utilities, although it may be a little more or less depending on how big a place you rent and where you live in the country.
Our next budgetary item is transportation, and your cheapest form besides walking, which is what we do a lot actually, is to take the bus. Buses can run anywhere from 35 to 50 cents, and if you want to do an interprovincial bus, that can run like around $10.
Yeah, usually less than $10. Cabs are usually around $2 to $5 for traveling within a city. That ranges based on how far you're going.
You can also buy a car, but obviously that is going to be much more expensive, and the import taxes are higher here.
Yeah, and gas right now is about $2.55 a gallon. We don't recommend buying a car here because they are so expensive.
Yeah, and there's definitely so many affordable options. The public transportation is really good here.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of you ask if you can bring a car to Ecuador, and the answer is no. Unless you are a returning Ecuadorian citizen and you are moving back with your household goods, and there's a whole bunch of other criteria that you as a returning Ecuadorian citizen have to meet to bring your car to Ecuador. But if you're not, no.
Yeah, it is not allowed. There's no way around it.
No.
You can't pay your way through it. And also, they don't have all the same makes and models here in Ecuador that they have in the US and Canada. So even if you do bring a car here, you may probably have a really hard time getting it serviced and finding parts for it. So it just isn't worth it, and there's really no way around it.
We think $50 is a good amount to budget for your monthly transportation, and that's assuming that you're living in town and you're just going to take the buses and cabs to get around. If you live out in the country, then you're going to have to spend more if you want to go to Super Maxi once a month to stock up on groceries.
You might have a few other expenses that you need to budget for, like traveling mailbox. That's our virtual mailbox that we use. We pay $20 per month for that.
Yeah, and clothing, you definitely want to put together a clothing budget, especially I don't know, clothing is all over the place. You can get some really cheap stuff from the mercados. The clothing can be a lot more expensive in the malls, especially if you're looking for American brands. It can sometimes be like double the price. However, you can get your own clothes made here and save a lot of money.
So you might have some entertainment expenses as well, although there are a lot of free activities that you can do, especially in Cuenca. I call it Cuenca Ecuador's cruise ship because there's so many different activities that you will never be bored, and a lot of them are free.
You might want to take Spanish lessons, and you can also do a Spanish language exchange meetup. I know that they have those in Cuenca, and those are free.
And you might want to budget for transportation back home to see your friends and family. We don't spend a lot on that because we don't go back very often, but a lot of people do, especially during the holidays.
Haircuts, that's another one that comes up. A haircut can be as cheap as $5 here. I
or
think
free. I cut Amelia's. So
yes.
She and I both cut her hair.
Yes. I think the last time I got it cut, it was $10. It's a lot more affordable than it is in the United States.
Or you can just start shaving it like I do and not spend any money on your hair.
I'm not doing that.
If you are a single person, we recommend budgeting about $1,250 for your main expenses. That leaves about $400 per month for other things like your medications, health care, other than your health insurance, and other miscellaneous expenses that you might have.
If you're a couple, we recommend that you budget about $23.50 a month because you may want to get a bigger place so that you are not right on top of each other. You may want to spend more money on rent.
Yeah.
So you have more room, and also things like food and your health insurance, of course, will double.
Most other things will stay the same though, so you won't. It's not a doubling of the entire amount because
Right.
a lot of things just won't increase. Your next question is probably, how do I get my Social Security check to Ecuador? We get this question a lot. As far as we know, it is not possible to do an EFT or automatic deposit of your check from the government in the US to your bank account in Ecuador. We've heard people try and fail at doing that.
You can write a check here. However, we've heard it takes like a month for that check to clear. So if you're not in a hurry, that's probably a good option. But most of us are in a hurry.
Yeah, you'd have to plan ahead for that. The cheapest option really is to open an account with a bank like Charles Schwab. We've heard Fidelity does this now. They don't charge any fees worldwide to use an ATM, and they refund the fees that are charged by the local bank. So a lot of people just go to the ATM every month and withdraw their money that they used to live on here. And we even pay our rent. We used to pay our rent that way.
Another option is to do a wire transfer, so you can do a bigger sum of money, open up a bank account here in Ecuador, and transfer a larger lump sum into Ecuador, and then you can use your Ecuador ATM to take cash out.
Yeah, wire transfers cost about $50 to $70, so that's why you want to do a larger amount.
Yeah. And the fastest but the most expensive way is to use a company like Zoom. We've done that before, and that's Zoom with an X, not the Z, the video conferencing company.
XOOM.com.
Yes, it's super fast. You get your money within 48 hours, but it is the most expensive.
Yeah, it costs about $26 to transfer your $1,657 Social Security check. And it's about $40 to do a $3,000 transfer, so it's not very affordable.
No, but you have plenty of options.
Now we want to talk about what your quality of life is going to look like in Ecuador on your Social Security check, and I think you're going to be happily surprised.
Yes, I think you will be very surprised. We live here, well, we're not on Social Security, but we live here very comfortably, and our bills haven't really changed much, and we come in under that $3,000 mark, and we have for the last 4 years.
Yeah, when we lived in Cuenca and alone, we spent about $1,800 per month. Here in Manta, we live in a high-rise resort-style condo building right on the beach, and we spend about $2,500 per month. So that still comes in well below the $3,000 mark for the average Social Security check for a couple. And we feel like we live a much higher quality of life here than we did back in Denver.
Yeah, and you could spend, well, you could spend more or you could spend less. It's a great place to be.
Yeah, the minimum wage in Ecuador, we mentioned earlier, is $400 per month. So that kind of puts things in perspective. It's not an easy life. You're probably living with your family if you make that. However, middle class earners, professional workers like accountants, engineers, they make in the range of around $20,000 to $30,000 per year. Which is about $1,500 to $2,500 per month. They're considered middle class. They live a really nice lifestyle here. So you're basically going to be living about like a middle class Ecuadorian. They have a lot more expenses, though most of them have cars so they can drive to work. You're not going to have that probably.
You can also supplement your income by doing things like teaching English online, dog sitting, or maybe turning your hobby that you had in the US into a new side hustle. We actually know quite a few people who have done that very successfully.
And you can earn income in Ecuador on your pension or visa. A lot of countries have restrictions on their visas and don't allow you to work, especially if you're on a retirement visa. But Ecuador is not one of those countries. That means you can come here and earn income.
We found that the cost of living in Ecuador is about 1/3 compared to the United States.
So if your Social Security check is $1,657, that means it's going to be like living on $5,000 in the U.S. And for a couple, that's like having $9,000. So that really gives you an idea of the quality of life that you can afford just by moving someplace that has a much lower cost of living.
Yeah, plus you have this whole new outlook on life. You have a whole new adventure waiting for you. Let us know in the comments below if you think you'll be able to live a high quality of life here in Ecuador on your Social Security or pension.
Yeah, and be sure to check the description for all those links that we mentioned in the video.
And make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and leave us a like.
JP
was ready.
I was ready. I'm excited for you to leave us a like. All right, guys, hope you have an unconventional day. We will see you all in our next video.
Ciao.
Ciao.